5 reasons why I like the E-M5 MKIII and a 12 to 45mm f4 combination. Coming up. Hi there, my name is Peter Forsgren and I am an Olympus visionary and a professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. And before we start talking about this combination, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the bell so you get notified when there is a new video online. My channel is all about you getting to be a better photographer and of course about Olympus gear. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and also if you enjoyed what you saw, please consider sharing the video also. But before we get into the business, a disclaimer. This combination, E-M5 MKIII and the 12 to 45mm f4 lens, is not mine. I have gotten it for use from Olympus, so it's a loan from Olympus Finland. The only thing that's mine is the big designed wrist cuff or whatever you call this. If you have watched my videos before, you probably know that this combination, the E-M5 MKIII and a 12 to 45mm f4 lens, is my favorite combination for everyday photography and also for travel photography, which of course I haven't been doing lately because of the situation in the world. Still, every time I go out, I take this camera and this lens with me. It fits perfectly to my Peak Design everyday messenger bag. But let's get into reason number 1, the size. This combination is a perfect size for me. I've added a ECG5 grip to it because it fits a bit better to my hand. I have a fairly big hand and the body is a bit too small, or it's not too small, but the grip isn't perfect for me, and adding the grip works perfectly for me. And if you have smaller hands, then you probably won't have any problems, so don't worry about it. Number 2, usability. The customizability of Olympus cameras is really great. You can customize the buttons almost to anything almost any feature that the camera has, and that's really good because we all are different photographers. We need a bit different things, and maybe we're used to this button being here and this and that, but then you don't have to worry about that because you can customize the camera. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I really love Olympus. As I said, we're all different, and that's why it's great. In this video, I'm not going to go deep into my settings. I have a separate video which you can watch it from here with the best settings for this camera. There's only one small thing about usability that I like better in the previous version, the E-M5 MKII, compared to the E-M5 MKIII. And let's hear what I said when I compared those two cameras when this one was brand new last, I think it was October. The main difference in usability, that's a design thing, is the position of the back wheel. And on this one it's a lot easier to access. It's a bit further back, so it's easy to change the exposure compensation from the back wheel. With this one it's a bit harder. I need to reposition my hand when I do that. But otherwise, of course, the new one is a lot better in my hand when I'm carrying it around. And number 3, weather sealing. This is important because of 2 reasons. The first reason is that I do not have to worry about the weather outside. I can go out if it's raining, it doesn't really matter. I can use this combination no matter what. And that's a good thing because usually a bad weather can give you some really great images. It's something that you don't see that often because for some reason most of us like to photograph when the weather is nice, and I don't know why. But photographing in bad weather, you can get some great images. And with the weather sealed combination, you're all set. You don't have to worry about. And the second thing is that making a weather sealed camera needs to be well made. That's a pretty odd way to say, but you know what I understand. If you have a weather sealed camera, you know that it's well made. It has sealing in all these knobs, and you don't get dust in the camera, and you don't, it's just, you know that it's well made. That's what I'm trying to say, and that's what this camera is. And I was really surprised about the fuss about the material of this camera, because I don't see a problem with the material that it was made. It's very durable, it's weather sealed, and that's enough for me. I know it's well made and it will keep up with me no matter the conditions. And that's important. And before we get into the tip number 4, let's look at some images that I have taken with this combination. I hope you enjoyed the images. And now, and number 4, the lens. I have used the 12 to 40mm f2.8 lens quite a lot. It's one of my lenses that I pack every time when I go out and shoot for an assignment for a client. The other lens was the 40 to 150mm f2.8. And if you're interested in what my gear is when I do professional work, you can watch a video that I just made. It's right up there. But let's continue with this lens. Why this lens when I go out for my everyday shooting? Well, the first reason it was number one, it is just a bit smaller, which makes it more convenient for me. And the image quality, it's top notch. But of course, the only thing that I do during my travels is that I always pack a fast prime, which is usually the 25 to f1.8, just for those low light moments. Otherwise, I carry this around all day. But is this lens perfect? Well, in many ways it is, but there's one thing that I would change. I would put the MF clutch on that. That's because I use manual focus quite a lot and use the MF clutch also quite a lot. And that would be the only improvement that I make. And if that is something that's a deal breaker for you, then you can always use the 12 to 40 millimeter f2.8 lens if you want. For me, it hasn't been a deal breaker, so I'm happy with the way the lens is. And before we go into the tip number 5, yeah, there will be an extra tip or extra thing that I will address after tip number 5, which is the features. Even though I don't need every time all the features of this camera, it's very good to have, because sometimes I like to use Pro Capture, high-res images, focus stacking, focus bracketing. Those features are really good to have in cameras, and I'm really glad that Olympus does not have the way of kind of like taking features away from different lineups. They try to put everything that's possible, because the only reason that this camera might not have some things is because of the processor. That might not be as fast. The fastest high sequential is 30 frames per second, and with the E-M1 Mark II it's 60 frames per second. So that could have been, but you get the point. Usually you have the features that all the more expensive cameras have too, and that's a good thing. And also this camera is a good backup camera for my E-M1 Mark IIs, just in case something happens or goes wrong. And it's a good backup for photography and video, and that's why I really am glad that the features are there, even though, as I said, in everyday photography I don't really use them. But for the professional work and a backup body, it's a good thing. Then the extra thing. This is really hard to explain. I've given some thoughts that why not just use the E-M1 Mark II that I use for my work. I'm really used to using that also. And wouldn't it be just easier just to grab that and use that all the time? And to be honest, yeah, maybe it could. But for some reason, I'm really in fond of this camera. And the only reason that I have really figured out is that when I go out, this is my laser camera, and it feels a bit different. It feels that now I'm photographing for myself when using a different equipment. It's like the same thing when you come out of work, you change to something more casual or maybe more comfortable when you're staying at home. You're free time. And that's, I don't know if that makes any sense, but for some reason that's how I feel. And it's as I said, it's really hard to explain, but it's kind of like a feeling that when I'm using this, then I'm photographing for myself. And that's probably different tools for different things. Maybe that is the thing that makes me feel different. Does this make any sense? Please let me know in the comments down below. And of course, also, what do you think about those reasons why this camera is so lovable? Do you agree, or do you have different reasons? Or maybe you don't love this camera or this combination, and tell me that too. I'd like to hear that. And here are some more videos about this camera and this lens. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.